the last day of February, and we started this month planting transplants, and they are large enough to plant them in the actual garden now, so we're about to go do that. So we're ending the month actually planting our transplants. I'm so happy. Watching these little babies grow has done a lot for me mentally, okay? Fit check. Look at them. Look at the bush beans. Green beans, I think these are. No, these are the green beans. The other ones were sweet peas. I've got my shovel, and I'm about to put them in the little bed. This is decomposing, so not gonna hate on that. Look at my little botanist. Okay, leave the plants alone. She always interested in whatever I got going on, you know what I'm saying? She's just trying to feel the vibe of what I'm doing all the time. This is not my cat. Dude, it's like the most perfect weather ever out here. Like, low-key feeling like the main character out here. I'm not gonna lie. Enjoy the camera, why not? I'm gonna stand right here and give the cat a couple seconds, see if it try to come over here with me. You can't make this up. Okay, planting some more peas. On to my reading wrap up. I read some really good books this month that I want to talk about. Starting off with my current reads that I'll probably talk about more in depth in next month's wrap up. I'm reading 3 books right now. The first one being Doom. I am currently recording what I think will be a series vlog for this book series, so I'm not going to say too much about this book. Just know at the rate that it's going, the video is probably going to be a series vlog, even though I was planning on it just being this individual book. So as I'm reading this series, I'm also reading other books in the background, including The Island of Missing Trees by Alif Shafak and Devotion by Mary Oliver. I have to. I'm not going to say too much about that because it'll probably be in my next month's reading wrap up, so I'm not even going to spoil that for you. On to what I read this month. I will say that I did the enough Parable of the Sower. I thought I was stronger than what I am. Okay, I can't do that to myself. I really can't. And I gave it the best that I could. Not while we're living through what we're living through right now. Maybe in the future, in like 20 years, I'll pick the book up and be like, oh, that was scary. But not right now, queens. I can't do that. I can't do it. On to what I actually read and finished. I started the month off reading the Moongirl and Double Dinosaur comic series. I am reading the paperbacks, not the individual comics. These books follow a 4th grader named Lunella Lafayette, who is a brainiac. She's insanely smart. She has this dinosaur sidekick that she fights crime with and that she takes to school. She has a little laboratory built under her elementary school. And it's just so, it's like a slice of life comic with all of the action of her actually fighting crime. It's amazing. I love it. She's a science nerd. She wants to be an engineer and an inventor, basically. She makes these gizmos. She's just so interesting and unique. I love her. And I'm obsessed with these comics. I have read the first 3, I think. And there's only one more paperback out, which I plan to read in the month of March. And I love the art style. I love the character design. It's so cute, quick, fun, fast-paced, and I feel like anybody of any age could enjoy it, especially younger kids though. So I'm going to start recommending this to my younger cousins. And these are some of the first comics that I really read. I've read some Photon, but not the way that I'm reading these. You know what I mean? Then I read A Song for the Wild Build by Becky Chambers. This is a sci-fi novel, I believe. It was really popular 1 or 2 years ago, and I just never picked it up for whatever reason. It's only 147 pages long, and it's following this monk who basically makes tea for a living. They make tea for any ailment that a human may have. One day, the monk basically decides to run away. The monk's name is Dex, and Dex basically decides to run away from society to try to find the wilderness and to hear crickets in real life, because in this world, a bunch of insects that we know today have gone extinct. A bunch of insects and animals, not just insects, have gone extinct. And Dex wants to find crickets specifically because they really like the sound of crickets or something. I don't know. As Dex is in the wilderness and whatnot, looking for crickets, comes across this robot named Moscap. And it's just like a slice of life adventure with the 2 of them. And the book is kind of an eco-criticism at the same time. It's truly wonderful and magical. There were some amazing quotes in this book about the environment and about, I feel like this kind of encapsulates human nature relationships present day too. 50% of Panga's single continent was designated for human use. The rest was left to nature, and the ocean was barely touched at all. It was a crazy split if you thought about it. Half the land for a single species, half of it for the hundreds of thousands of others. Yeah. And then there's another quote. There are many things to hear. Birds, bugs, trees, wind, water, but no crickets. Dex picked their pocket computer back up and began a reference search. Cricket recordings they wrote, not for the first time. A list of public files popped up. Dex played the first of them, and the reedy pulse of a cricket-filled forest was conjured through their speakers, an immortal snapshot of an ecosystem long gone. These were pre-transition recordings, taken by people who thought, with good cause, that the sounds of the world they knew might disappear forever. I don't know, there are so many small, really, really good quotes like that. The book is like very funny and whimsical. The characters are so likable. I loved it. No complaints, honestly. What can I say? No complaints. Very cute, quick read, and I had a great time reading it. Then we have The Hurting Kind by Ada Limon. I've heard that this is a lot of people's most favorite poet, and she gets compared to Mary Oliver pretty often. Most of the times people saying that she's better than Mary Oliver. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. But she was the poet laureate of the United States, so that does count for something. You don't have to take my opinion for it, but me and Mary, we're like this. I'm sorry. There were some really, really good quotes in this book too. This is not a new favorite poetry collection of mine, but I did have a really good time reading it, and there were a lot of poems that did stand out to me. One of which is Drowning Creek on page 4. I'm not going to read this whole poem because it is quite long, but it says, I wanted to stop the car and take a closer look at the solitary, stocky water bird with its blue crown and its blue chest and its uncommonness. But we were already a blur and miles beyond the flying fisher by the time I realized what I witnessed. People were nothing to that bird hovering over the creek. I was nothing to that bird, which wasn't concerned with history's bloody battles or why this creek was called Drowning Creek. A name I love, though it gives me shivers because it sounds like an order. A place where one goes to drown. The bird doesn't call it any. I'm almost certain, though I'm certain of nothing, there's a solitude in this world I cannot pierce. I would die for it. You should definitely give it a read yourself and see your thoughts on it. In the Shadow. The wild pansy shoves its persistent face beneath the hackleberry's shade. True plum and gold with the alternative names Johnny Jump Up, Heartsease, or my favorite, Love and Idleness. I bow closer to the new face. I'm always superimposing a face on flowers. I call the violet moon Vinca the choir, and there are surely eyes in the bird-eye speedwell, and mouths on the linnerleaf snapdragon. It is what we do in order to take care of things, make them ourselves, our elders, our beloveds, our unborn. But perhaps that's a lazy kind of love. Why can't I just love the flower for being a flower? How many flowers have I yanked to puppet as if it was easy for the world to make flowers? That's that. Then the romances that I read this month. Why in every single video when I start talking about romance books I start giggling? Do I know that these people aren't real? I started reading the Catalina Cove series by Brenda Jackson. I read the second book, Forget Me Not, and the third book, which is this one, Finding Home Again. Starting off with Forget Me Not, because that one ate down, girls. I'm not gonna lie. That one cleared. That book follows a guy named Devon and his wife Ashley, who have been married for about 5 years when the book starts. Devon is on his way home for their 5th anniversary, and he gets in an accident. And in the accident, something terrible happens. I'm not going to explain the accident because you should read it yourself. Devon forgets his memory and moves to Catalina Cove, and the police end up telling Ashley that Devon died. So, it's been 3 years since the accident. Devon's new name is Ray, because when he woke up in the hospital, he chose a new name and went to go stay at Catalina Cove per, I think, the doctor's recommendation. It's been 3 years. Neither of them have dated anybody since. And Ashley is going to Catalina Cove for 2 weeks to try to get over Ray, who is also Devon. She knows him as Devon, but his new identity is Ray. So she's going to Catalina Cove to get over Devon, and there she meets Ray. And so he sees her. She's the first woman that he's ever been interested in since the accident. And she sees him and she knows that that's her dead husband. Girls, that whole plot, it was giving. I was giggling and laughing and kicking my feet and reading it in the wee hours of the night. I love that book. When I tell y'all, there was some yearning going on in that book. That's what I'm signing up for when I read a romance book. And I love when I'm reading a romance book and the characters have been like separated for some time and they don't like start dating other people just because they've been separated. Like, I hate that vibe. I hate that trope. I hate that plot. We're gonna get into that a little bit when I talk about the next book in the series. But this book, chef's kiss, so far my favorite of the series. I need to go back and read the first one and then continue the series, but I love that book. Highly recommend. A new favorite romance of mine, honestly. Then I read this one, Finding Home Again, which is the third book of the series. I borrowed this from my mom's library, and this one is a second chance romance between Keegan and Bryce, also set in the Catalina Cove universe. And it's a second chance romance. 10 years ago something awful happened between them and they broke up, and 5 years ago Keegan moved back to Catalina Cove, and ever since then they've been like at each other. Like, they've just been aggressive and mean towards each other, and it was obviously a really bad breakup. But one day towards the beginning of this book, Bryce says something that makes Keegan realize that how wrong he's been about the whole breakup, and that they basically broke up for no reason. He's still obsessed with her. She's still obsessed with him. Everybody knows it. The whole book basically is Keegan groveling to get back into Bryce's good graces, try to get Bryce to give them another chance. Okay, what I loved about this book was that there's no shame in Keegan's game. I love that. I love that. I love when somebody's groveling and you know they're groveling. And they're groveling extremely hard. They're doing everything in their power to grovel. I love that. What I don't love is when somebody is... Y'all, and this may be toxic of me. I don't know. I don't really care either. But when characters are like in love, obsessed with each other, and they date other people because they're mad at each other or something like that, or they're not officially together, that stresses me out. Why are we doing that? I hate that plot. They both like just date around, kind of, even though you don't really see much of it in the book. You just know of it because they talk about it. I hate that trope. I hate it. Like, why are you talking to somebody other than your soulmate right now? Still enjoyable. I still really liked it, just not my favorite, and I didn't like it as much as I liked Ray and Ashley's book. So, still worth the read though, especially if you're obsessed with the universe like I am. I just need content from the Catalina Cove series. So, last but not least, my favorite read of the month was Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. This book is all about fungi, the history of fungal plant relationships, different scientists and like the wacky, oddly specific projects that they're working on in relation to fungi, psychedelic mushrooms and tonic making, and also a little bit about Sheldrake's research at the Smithsonian Tropical Reserve in Panama, which I would die to visit. This book was so wacky and weird and so oddly specific and niche. I was obsessed with it. I really took my time reading this book, so I read all of this other stuff as I read this book throughout the whole month, and I had a great time reading this book. I really, really loved it. It's so much to say about this book. It's so much going on in this book, and it's being described very thoroughly and very well. I think Merlin Sheldrake is an amazing writer, first of all, because he really kept my interest and did a great job explaining history in terms of natural sciences and fungi and plant-fungi relationships, etc., etc. He just did a wonderful job explaining history and different paths scientists take in a very easy, like I was saying, he did a great job describing everything in a very easy to understand way. And he wrote about all this stuff in such an interesting, intriguing way. I feel like anybody would like this book, but especially if you're already interested in a lot of the stuff that he's talking about, you should definitely pick this book up. Like, if you're interested in the stuff that I'm interested in, you've read some of the nature books that I recommend and you've liked them, yeah, pick this up because it is so good to me. Highly recommend. This is my favorite read of the month. That was everything that I'm currently reading and that I'm starting the month of March with.